So I think we'll start the recording now, and I'll say good afternoon and welcome to the British Council's Going Global Partnerships Programme webinar, where we'll be looking at the TVET International Skills Partnership opportunities for 2026. I'm Kerrian, Senior TVET Consultant, and I'm joined by my colleague Jem, who will also be presenting today. And I also have my colleagues Louise and Desi, who will be looking at the chat. So please put questions into the chat and discussion points as we're going through. But obviously, we'll have our question and answer session later as well. Okay, can I just check, Julia, we've started the recording?
Yep, that's right.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll move on to outline what we'll be covering today then. So during this 40 minutes, we'll discuss a little bit about the British Council and our Going Global Partnerships programme, then specifically look at this TVET International Skills Partnership opportunities for 2026. We'll look at eligibility, writing a successful application, the selection criteria, the timescales, and then we'll open up to question and answer. But as I said, please do put your questions in the chat and we'll field those as we're going through as well. So going to the next slide and the next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the British Council first of all. So our mission is that we support peace and prosperity by building connections, understanding and trust between people in the UK and countries worldwide. And through education, we support inclusive, high-quality education by global collaboration that strengthens systems and learning outcomes, but that's also by developing workforce capability and capacity. And in TVET specifically, we're about driving stronger skill systems, promoting decent work, supporting inclusive economic growth, and powering a greener, fairer future for all. Really nicely aligned to those United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you. Next slide. So as we talk about the Going Global Partnership Programme as a whole, this is connecting higher education and TVET partners in the UK with those around the world. And that's about strengthening systems, it's about research collaboration, internationalization, enhancing student outcomes, and increasing inclusion. But this particular grant call, is focused on our TVET offer and our TVET opportunities for international skills partnerships. That this year there will just be one call because we've aligned with our HE colleagues. Next slide, please. The whole purpose of all our Going Global Partnership programme is that there is mutually beneficial higher education and TVET collaborations between UK and other countries to ensure we work towards collaborative outcomes and a sustainable, positive impact around stronger systems, inclusion, and developing workforce capacity and capability that enables fairer economic and social growth. So that's for our whole Going Global Partnerships programme. And in the next slide, I'm specifically going to talk about the TVET opportunities for 2026. So we'll move on. So the opportunity we're discussing with you today is about bringing UK and international TVET institutions together to co-create solutions that will improve quality, relevance, leadership in skill systems. And it will be, the partnership will foster peer-to-peer innovation around co-curriculum design, development and delivery. It will about leadership exchange, but it's all about real world working and the challenges and opportunities that are being faced currently. So the partnerships enable collaborative design. They're impact focused, and as I've said, they could be around employer engagement, curriculum design and development. They could be around green skills, digital skills. They could be around innovation, enterprise and entrepreneurial skills. And they tend to be in those sectors that are recognised as being priority sectors. So when we think of our IS 8+2 industry sectors in our industry strategy, they very nicely align to this, whether they're around advanced manufacturing, whether that's automotive, or aerospace, or whatever they might be, construction. So you'll see as we discuss the opportunities, and they have been shared in our call guidance. Now, currently, we work across 13 countries that are listed here on the slides, and you'll obviously be getting the slides and recordings. So from Botswana, Egypt, Ghana to South Africa, Tanzania, and Uganda. And as I said, the work and the partnership work and the exchange that takes place in different countries has been around curriculum development, quality review, green skills, employer engagement in those priority sectors. But I'll come to discuss what the specific opportunities are for 2026 shortly. But first of all, why participate? Why would you want to participate? Well, it gives you unrivaled staff development opportunities. It raises the profile of organisations locally, regionally, and internationally, specifically as we have an international strategy now in the UK aligning to our industrial strategy. It provides inroads into new markets potentially, allows continuous improvements through that effective practice exchange in teaching, learning, and assessment, and it helps to diversify income and funding sources. And the link we share here is a showcase of some of the international skills partnerships that have taken place. And there's following us on LinkedIn and through our newsletters, you'll see there are many current international skills partnerships with visits taking place even this month, with visits from Ghana and South African colleagues. Next slide, please. So in this next section, I'll talk to you specifically about the opportunities you can apply for before our September the 10th deadline. So we'll move on to look at those. So for 2026, we've got 7 international skills partnerships opportunities across 5 different countries. There are 2 in Egypt, 2 in Morocco, and then 1 opportunity in Ghana, Malawi, and Uganda. Now, each of these opportunities allow collaboration and exchange. They're funded between £25,000 and £30,000 to support that partnership activity. And the work is funded over a 15-month duration that starts from November. So to have a look at what the particular areas of focus are for these ISPs, if we move to the next slide, you can see that for Egypt, the themes for the ISPs are around accreditation and quality assurance. For Ghana, advanced manufacturing, particularly automotive engineering. In Malawi, we're looking at agritech and clean energy. Morocco has a number of different components to it: food and beverage, events and sports management, sustainable tourism, and Uganda is looking at advanced manufacturing and agritech. There's also been a separate call, and I'll just correct the date here. There's just 2 days left to apply for a Nepal International Skills Partnership opportunity because the deadline is the 10th. And that is on the focus is green skills and employer engagement. So should you wish to do that, the deadline is just the 10th of July. So that's a shorter deadline than all the opportunities that I'm actually discussing here now, which has a deadline for submission of September. But you'll see all the opportunities via our website and all the call guidance outlining what the opportunities are in different countries, if you were to take a look. So moving to eligibility for application. Because this is TVET International Skills Partnerships, the lead institution must be an FE provider. So that must be that the lead is from an FE college, an independent learning provider, adult and community learning, everything that we call FE, which would be TVET, as we think of these partnerships. But it also includes sector skills organisations and awarding bodies. The lead partner must be from an FE institution, but of course, If you decide to have partners in your application, they could be partners that are employer partners, they could be HE partners and wider stakeholder partners. Other things that you'll see in our guidance is that we do require that you have the endorsement of your senior leadership team before submitting the application. And one other thing that we ask is that the lead provider, which needs to be an FE provider, does have the capacity to transmit funding to the international partner overseas once you've been successful and we've announced who the partner would be, who's been involved as we've written the call. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Jem, who's going to talk through the next section on the application. Thanks, Jem.
Thanks, Karen. So I'm going to run through the application process for this grant call. So the grant call is being run through the Going Global Good Grants platform. On the platform, you will find the application form alongside some documents and the call guidance that's been shared in the chat. All applications must be submitted through this platform, and we recommend that you submit well in advance of the deadline. You don't want to get into the situation where there's 10 minutes to go and you have an internet error, which means the submission doesn't go through. There is also a Word document version of the application form that I would highly recommend you download and fill in before entering the information online. This will be particularly useful if you are looking to apply to multiple opportunities, which we'll explain in a second. And like Kerrian's mentioned, alongside the application form, other things we do require are a signed letter of support from the SLT in your institution, a CV for the lead of the ISP, and there is also a section to name associate partners that we will discuss in a minute. So we are advertising here for 7 different opportunities, and a lead institution is eligible to submit up to 3 applications. If you are submitting multiple applications, you must inform us, and there is a section in the form, of your priority order. So we can see which applications, if you are successful across multiple, we can see which would be your preference to be awarded. So ordinarily, we would not expect to award no more than 2 grants to a single organisation, but we reserve the right to award a 3rd grant in exceptional circumstances. So going into the application form, there are some very, very simple institutional and demographic sort of information to fill out. But it's really when we get to section 2, where we start to sort of talk more about what you want to achieve with the ISP. So in section 2, we are looking for documentation around organizational experience and capacity to work internationally. So describing your organization's ambition to work internationally, if there are examples of past work that you have conducted, adding these on, explaining to us what the work was, who the funder was, what the key achievements were. And one of the things we really want out of these partnerships is they're a stepping stone. We want these to be sustainable partnerships, and so we want to understand how connections will be sustained afterwards. What plans do you have in place to keep in contact with the partner that you're going to be working with after the end of this grant? Then we talk about the project approach. Specifically, what are you going to do with this grant to achieve the goals that we've sort of outlined in the call guidance? So the project title, the project purpose, what are the objectives, what sustainable development goals will this work towards? Really simple information that's really critical for us. Then we want to understand what you are going to do. So what activities are planned? And you'll see in the application form, we've listed out some example activities in there. A really good idea if you're completely stuck on what you might want to put here, go to the ISP showcase document that's been linked in the chat. That gives you around 25 examples of past ISPs, what they achieved, what they did. It's a really, really great document to get ideas. So what sort of activities are planned? When will these be delivered? How will they be delivered? What would success look like from these activities? We're then interested in understanding the outputs of the project. If it's something that's focusing on curriculum development, the output will be the development of the curriculum. But there could be so many different things here, and really we're looking for sort of different innovative outputs that could really support the partners. And then project outcomes, what are we hoping to actually achieve from this partnership, and how are these actually going to be measured? We then have a section on gender and EDI impact. Here we want to understand the key gender issues around the project. We also want to understand if your institution has specific policies or frameworks that set out and relate to gender and EDI. There's also space to add those in. And so that's pretty much the application form. And one thing that we want to highlight here is some additional considerations that should be taken into account when developing your project and your application. So if you had applied previously, these might be slightly different to what you're used to. So please do take these into account. So we do not expect a budget plan to be submitted during the application process. But we do want to note the following restrictions on funding allocations. Again, this is all set out in the call guidance document as well, so I would urge everybody to have a read specifically of Annex 1, where we talk about eligible and ineligible costs. So a cap of 30% of the total grant is set for human resource and staff costs. This includes all contracting and partnering institution staff working on the project. So any staff member that is contracted to the lead institution, their cost can be a total of 30% of the grant. Then there is the expertise cost. Now, in many ISPs, the lead institution will decide to partner with what's called an associate partner. And this is all added into the application form as well. And an associate partner is often brought on board to provide specific expertise. And so if this approach is taken, maybe a consultant is brought on board, an associate partner, some sort of advisor, there is an additional 20% of the grant that can be used for expertise costs. So these are expertise that is coming from outside of the lead institution, so people who are not contracted to the lead institution. And then the final restriction is on international travel. So there is a cap set of 20% of the total grant for international travel and subsistence costs. We've discussed the funding restrictions there, but another point, if an associate partner is a for-profit educational institution, they are only eligible to receive funding to cover the travel associated costs, and this must be clearly outlined in the application. And in terms of how we are going to assess the applications, so 40% of the weighting is given to the organizational experience and capacity. And what I really want to highlight here is the capacity aspect. We would love to see institutions who maybe have not worked internationally applying. And so experience is wonderful, but if you are able to articulate your capacity, that can have exactly the same weighting when it comes to the final evaluation. Project approach, so the activities, the outcomes, how it will be verified, the outputs, that's worth 50% of the final evaluation. And then 10% is dedicated to finance and budgets. And again, just highlighting the point Karen made before about having the ability, the management ability to handle the budget and to transfer funds to the international partner. The gender and EDI statements and the section which is about environmental impact are not part of the final evaluation criteria, but they are used as part of the initial screening. So what you'll need to do once you're ready to submit is just make sure you have everything checked off. So the application form and supporting documents have all been completed in English. The lead institution has a signed supporting letter. Just again, reiterating, lead institutions must have the capacity to administer a grant. CV of lead applicant, and when relevant, associate partner letters. They must all be uploaded onto the Good Grants platform before the application can be submitted. And with that, I believe I'm handing back over to Karen.
Yeah, thank you for that. And if you do have any questions on anything Jem discussed, keep them coming in the chat so we can answer them. So just looking at the time frame for this. So we've held these webinars and we launched just a couple of weeks ago, and the deadline for your submission of your applications is the 10th of September. So please, I know the summer is coming up, so please do take a look at the call guidance and consider if you're wanting to make an application to begin that kind of planning. We'll acknowledge applications by the 18th of September. Results will be announced on the 23rd of October. The contract signed 6th of November, and as we said, the projects would commence for the 15 months, beginning in November with an inception meeting taking place the week of the 9th of November. So that's our kind of time frame that's laid out in the call guidance. So you'd have that as a steer. So if we move to the next slide, please. So as I've said, I'm just reiterating here the deadline and the time of the deadline, the 10th of September. We've said that today's webinar recording and the question and answers from both sessions, the recording will be shared and they will be uploaded to our website so that colleagues who've managed to join us and those that have registered can watch the recording, and colleagues wider. Because we're trying through all channels to increase reach and engagement this year. And as Jem has said, you may have previously been involved in an international skills partnership. You may not have worked internationally, but it's looking at how you share your capability and capacity if you never have, because that would still be valued, of value, and your application could still be equally strong. So please don't be put off by that. We're encouraging applications from all FE providers and their partners. Next slide, please. And finally, to find out more about our opportunities, we've got an opportunities and insight portal where the link will be shared. We put opportunities on our website and all our case studies are there. And you can subscribe to our TVET newsletter. So we're including the link in the deck, and I know our colleagues have been putting links in the chat as well.